What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Green Thumb. Welcome to the greenhouse. Doesn't look like much, but that's where we are. Going to see an awful lot of content coming from in here. Today we're going to talk about watering this garden. So remember in the last video I mentioned I had a couple of ways I planned on doing that. One of those is with jugs of water. So in my backyard right now I've got a 50-gallon rain barrel. Winter's setting in, but what I did is when it froze, I smashed all the ice out. I dumped it, which got rid of a lot of the junk that kind of collected in the bottom. And then we had a huge rainstorm and it filled right up. So at the moment, what I'm doing is I'm smashing through the crust of ice at the top and I'm filling up jugs like this and 2-liter pop bottles. Rainwater is the best stuff you could feed your plants, right? It's loaded with nitrogen. That's why after a rain, you always see everything green right up because it's loaded with nitrogen. There's no chemicals in it. Well, no added chemicals besides, what gets sucked into the water and the clouds and all that as it comes down. But we can't control that. So I'm going to be filling until that thing freezes solid and I can't get any more water out of it. I'm going to continue filling as many of these bottles as I can. Make sure there's tops on them to keep the moisture down and the evaporation. That's step one. Step two, for you guys that don't have one of these, I highly suggest you get one. Okay, this is the Boogie Brew Plus. You can go right to Boogie Brew, sorry. You can go right to their website and you can order these. Okay, see how big it is? It's about, 12 inches long. It's meant to go on an external tap, like on a water bib outside your house, right? Because that's why we've got the male end here and the females on your house. But you can run this inside your house by putting a male to female quick connect on here, because you can buy male to female, female to female, male to male. You can buy all the different quick connect settings. So you can modify this to run inside your house. This thing takes out pollution, it takes out heavy metals, it takes out chlorine. It doesn't take out chloramine. Chlorine, you can take your tap water if you're in the city. If you can take your tap water, put it in a bucket, give it a good shake, oxygenate it, let it sit for about 24 hours. The chlorine will evaporate. The chloramine will not, right? One of the problems with that is if you're kind of building a living soil type of situation, at least you can remove with something like this. You can remove the chlorine, which is going to kill some of the beneficial bacteria that you're actively trying to promote and grow in your soil, right? The chloramine, you can't really do much about it. So hopefully with the amount of soil biology you have, the minimal amount of chloramines in your tap water are not going to totally wipe out the beneficial soil biology that you have. Chances are it won't, right? A lot of those bacteria that's in your soil, they're pretty hardy. I mean, damn, they survive over winter. You know what I'm saying? So, but something like this in the city is super beneficial. I run this outside, and if you're worried about restriction, like water restriction flow coming out the backside, I used to have this running on my water bib. Tied into here, I had a quick connect with a Y with 2 different hoses coming out of it, and each of those hoses running 100 feet of soaker hoses into my raised garden beds. So you don't have to worry about a drastic restriction of water flow with something like this. I have trusted this, and by the way, this does 45,000 gallons. Okay? You can buy a smaller one, but I picked up this one because it's the biggest model that they have. So this is what I trust. If you guys trust my judgment, this is what I trust for my gardens outside. right? So what I'm going to do is I don't have the female to male to male, the female to male to female quick connects here at the house. I got to pick one up because I'm just going to use this in the wash sink for my washing machine. And I'm going to use this when I can't get water anymore out of my rain barrel to water the plants inside here, because obviously I'm going to be growing like a living soil type of situation, right? I'm going to have composted manure in the soils, and I'm going to have worm castings. I'm going to make compost tea. I've got some really good compost upstairs. I've been kind of tucked away for making a bunch of compost tea. And that is definitely going to bump up the biological life in my soil, because the healthier your soil, the healthier your plants, right? Because your soil biome directly feeds your plants. That's how that works, right? If you have healthy soil, you have healthy plants. You have unhealthy soil, your plants will get sick and they will not get the nutrients that they need out of your soil. It's a symbiotic relationship. So, saying that, science lesson for the day, right? Just trying to share on the knowledge. So what I've done is I've got my seeds that you guys saw me start the other day, right? So I haven't watered these yet. They're the same way they've been sitting here since we planted them the other day. And they are not going to germinate just sitting in the soil. So as soon as I start spraying, so what I've done is I've just used that big jug, boop, and I've filled up one of these. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to spray all my plants down, get the soil wet. It doesn't have to be dripping wet for the first day or so, but I'm definitely going to, because I have a smaller pump sprayer, I just couldn't find it. That's why I'm using one of these. So I'm just going to start spraying the soil, and as soon as those seeds get wet, it's going to start the whole germination process, because this moisture mix that's down here is definitely going to need some water. So when I'm starting, I'm not giving it heavy blasts, right? Because some of these seeds are pretty shallow. So I'm just starting off with a light watering on the top, just to kind of set the soil on the top. And then once I've kind of set that soil, because remember, the oregano seeds right here, they're only 1/16 of an inch under the soil surface. So if we give this thing a great big huge blast real fast, I could unearth those seeds, and we certainly don't want to do that. So we're just going to moisten the top of this down, and then once the top is moistened down and nothing's really going to blast away and move, and I don't have to worry about, burrowing holes in and disrupting the seeds that we planted, then we'll start definitely hitting it with the water, because we want this water to penetrate through, right? So now we've got everything set, we're just going to start soaking. And this is moisture mix that I'm using here. So it's fairly loose soil, and water is definitely just going to flow right through it. So while these things are growing, I'm going to have to be in here every day making sure everything gets a good soaking. It dries out pretty fast. But with little seedlings, that's not such a bad thing, because if your soil stays too wet, right? Like let's say I use some of my garden soil from outside. It's not meant for inside use. It doesn't have any perlite. It's not really fluffy. Has lots of organic matter in it, right? But it's definitely not going to be what you would kind of consider well-draining soil. But this moisture mix is definitely well-draining. So we're going to give everything a good soaking. I want it to run past the seeds that we have planted in here. And then what I'm going to do later on today, once some of this water has just filtered down through it, I'm just going to come back and give it another soak. And if I can't find my pump sprayer today, then I'm just going to pick up another pump sprayer. I might just do that anyways, because as the garden grows, I'm going to need to add lots of water. Like for example, you see the size of that pot? That thing's like 14 inches across the top and about 14 inches high. There's no way I'm watering with something like this, right? So I'm going to need something substantial to move a lot of water around the house. So that's all we're doing. We're just going to make sure everything gets a good spray. Skip the oregano because we don't need that yet. We're going to let it filter down. But you guys can see as I spray it, you can see the water filter right through it, right? And now that we've started the process with these seeds, I'm just doing the lettuce over here on the other side of the camera range. But you guys can see now that we've started the process, we cannot let that soil dry out. We've got little tender seeds in here, and some of the seeds, if the soil dries out and those roots dry out, it's game over. Just like carrots. When you're planting carrots, if the soil dries out when those little baby carrots are germinating, you're done. Your carrots are finished. And that's one of the reasons why I lost so many carrots at the garden that I was growing at this summertime, is because I wasn't able to get there as much as I needed to water. And I lost, well, I planted, what, 2,000 carrot seeds or something? I planned on having enough carrots that I was going to fill roughly my bathtub with carrots. But that didn't exactly work out. So like I said, we're just going to make sure this is all moist. And I know it looks like a fair amount of water, but that's okay because of this. The moisture mix potting soil we're using here is just going to literally let it just drip right through. It's got lots of perlite. Now, saying that, if you look into here, right, I had tomatoes in here. So all I've done is I've ripped the tomato plant out, and I haven't done anything else to this. But I can't really use this inside. I mean, it's great black earth. I put all this soil together. It's got a bunch of amendments and compost in it and stuff. But if I'm going to use that in here this wintertime, because it's inside, I don't want this pot staying soaking wet all the time when I water it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a big tote like this red one, and I'm going to dump these out into a tote. I'm going to amend the soil in them, and then I'm just going to add a bunch of perlite. For those of you who aren't aware, this is how you get your perlite, okay? And this stuff was going to help with moisture. It's going to add air pockets into your soil, and the aerobic bacteria that are in your soil need oxygen. So this stuff's cheap. I think I paid $8 for this bag. It's 8.8 liters, so just about 9 liters. And so when I amend all these pots, see, tip the camera, big pot, big pot, big pot. I have a couple more pots outside I'm going to bring in, but they're frozen right now. And then I'm just going to amend all that soil to an indoor potting soil mix. And then I'm not worried about it going back outside next year with that perlite and stuff in it. That's not going to make a difference because come springtime, I'll just pour all that soil back out again, amend it, and reuse it. And people worry, they're like, oh, what do I do with my potting soil? Do I just throw it out at the end of the season? No, definitely not. If you've grown healthy soil, right, with soil amendments in it and healthy plants and no chemicals, then you're building biological life in that soil. There's nothing wrong with it. You may want to amend it some more, which is understandable, you know, pour it out, add some worm castings to it and some more compost and whatever else you feel you need to for your plants, right? But you're maintaining that soil biology in those pots, which is super good for your plants, right? So there we go. Give this lettuce. I've got some lettuce down here in the tray beside me, so I'm just giving that a spray. So now that everything has been watered, it's officially indoor winter gardening season, guys. What we're doing right now means it's game on. So over the next couple of weeks, kick the tripod with my foot. So over the next couple of weeks, we're going to see all of this stuff come to life. I'm not going to turn the lights on. Don't need to. They can germinate in the dark. That's going to be no problem for them. I may come down and dry off this tote lid everything's sitting on and put a heat tray or a heat mat underneath them. And what we're going to do as well, the tomatoes and the peppers and the cucumbers and the zucchini, they're upstairs in Ziploc bags on top of my fridge. If you guys haven't seen that video on the best way to germinate seeds, check it out. I released it yesterday or the day before. Get about 90+ success rate on your germination. There's already tap roots coming out of that stuff. So when those come out and I've got better tap roots, I'm going to fill these with soil, label each one with a little piece of tape, and I'm going to start my little seedlings for the tomatoes and the cukes in these. And then when they're big enough, I'm going to transplant them into some of the bigger pots that I just showed you. And then at that point, things are getting serious, and I'm going to have to start building a trellis system in here, because we're going to have trellis netting in here that everything's going to be able to grow up, and we're going to espalier grow it. That's the plan. I kind of feel like This Old Tony. You guys watch videos with This Old Tony, and you ever just see his hands and him talking? That's what I kind of feel like in this video. All right, guys. So it's official. We're growing. Everything's watered. Seeds are going to germinate within a couple of days. The oregano might take a little bit longer. And the basil definitely might take a little bit longer. And I'm hoping the lettuce starts sooner than later, because at $5 for a head of lettuce, I simply can't afford to continue buying lettuce at that price. So, and we're going to eat a lot of lettuce in here. And I'm really excited to be growing spinach, because my kids were just gangbusters for spinach salad I made them the other day. So it's nice to see them eating healthy. Okay, so it's official, guys. We're gardening. The process has started. So keep following along, and we'll see where we go with this. And there's going to be lots more stuff. I'm putting in a seed order. I also have not planted any of these. That's going to happen this afternoon. I might just throw up a video of that. And cilantro seeds, because fresh cilantro, you can't beat it. Cilantro doesn't freeze very nicely. I mean, you can still add it to your food as like a topping, you know, on Indian food and stuff when it's frozen, but it's not the same, and it really doesn't dehydrate the same either. Fresh is best with cilantro. So we're going to grow a bunch of cilantro in a pot. It's going to look like a big green carpet, and we're going to plant some of these out as well. So, all right, guys. So like I said, if you're interested in getting one of these, go to their website. I'm not affiliated with them whatsoever, but the guy who runs this company, stand-up dude, he's completely into organic farming practices, and so check out this company. You can just Google it. All right, highly recommended. Excuse me. Okay, guys. So have a wonderful day, and hit that notification bell and that subscribe button if you guys haven't already, if you want to follow along with the massive indoor greenhouse garden that we're going to be building in my basement this wintertime. And leave a comment, share this video out, and have a kick-ass day. See ya.